sa Asian Community Development Council. Ito ang FIL-AM in Focus. Mondays at 12 noon, right here on PHLV Radio.
Magandang hapon po sa inyong lahat and welcome to FIL-AM in Focus, a program with the Asian Community Development Council or ACDC, wherein we discuss success stories, issues, or challenges affecting Filipino-American. Ako po ang inyong host, Weiss Solano. Itong buwan ng Hunyo, we commemorate the years of struggle for civil rights and ongoing pursuit of equal rights, as well as celebrating the accomplishments and contributions of the lesbians, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, intersex, and asexual community or LGBTQIA+. So, Happy Pride Month sa inyo pong lahat sa nagse-celebrate. I'm excited to bring you this episode because we will be discussing the new Pride flag and resources for the LGBTQIA community. So today we welcome on FIL-AM in Focus, Seiya Taba, President of the Vegas Okinawan Club. Seiya moved to Honolulu, Hawaii from Okinawa, Japan in 2016 and has been living in Las Vegas since 2017. And Seiya has worked as a special education teacher for Clark County School District and has been taking an active role in the nonprofit sector since 2020. Also, we welcome Matt Dang, the Director of Grants at the LGBTQ+ Center of Southern Nevada. Matthew hails from Southern California, and he grew up as in a first-generation Vietnamese American family, and he has been living in Las Vegas for how many years, Matthew?
6 years.
6 years,
yeah.
And you're also one of the founders of SNAPIQS, which is the Southern Nevada
API Queer Society.
API Queer Society. Thank you.
Yeah.
And so I really appreciate both your time and excited to discuss and have this conversation with you. So can you share your journey in discovering your identity? Let's begin with you, Matthew.
Oh, yeah, sure. Okay. So, hi, everyone. Again, my name is Matt. I'm really pretty best friends. So, I think for me, it was an interesting journey. I would say it started in college because I was new, I was away from home, and up until then, I really didn't try to focus on any relationship or anything like that. I was really focused on school so that I could be like, hey, get into a good college, and now I'm here. So I was like, okay, I'm going to explore. And so growing up, I really didn't have any romantic feelings. I wasn't sure. So I started out as questioning. And that's something I learned at my college. There's like a category called questioning. And so I went to a lot of questioning groups and be like, hey, I don't know about my sexuality. I don't think I'm straight, but I also don't know if I'm gay or not. And so it was a support group. And so just going through those meetings and then taking some risks and taking some chances of meeting people and exploring my romantic side, I was just like, okay, I could choose to start like, dating a man, dating a woman, see how I feel. It's like, okay, well, I don't want to be like, there's like a stereotype in the, queer gay culture where like, you might date a woman and then later on you're like, oh, I don't want to be with women, I'm actually gay. So I didn't want that like narrative for myself. So I was just like, okay, if I have like some interest in men, maybe I should start there and then go forward and see how that feels like. So I did that. I dated a guy. And we only dated for like a month or so, and it ended. But then and then at the end I was like reflecting. I was like, okay, that was a good experience. Do I want to continue dating men or do I want to continue dating women? And I was just like, I think I just want to keep dating men. So I just kind of continued that path, and it felt really comfortable, it felt really natural. There was a way in which I felt like, just like more authentically me. Where I was like, oh wow, I'm able to be all sorts of ways, when I feel like being straight, there's like certain like stereotypes or certain ways you have to be, and it just didn't really conform to my behavior or what I was interested in or what I expressed to the world. So just being like, oh wow, this is a interesting kind of lifestyle and perspective. So that's how like the journey started for me, at least.
Thank you for sharing that.
Of course.
How about you, Seiya? Can you share when you embrace this journey?
Yes, so identifying myself, like trying to figure out who I am, I think it started when I was very little, like 5 or 6, and I was watching, it's called an anime called Sailor Moon. And those are like very girly Japanese anime that was popular, I would say, like 30 plus years ago. So you can tell how old I am. But so that was like very girly. So if I tell my friends and classmates that I'm watching that, and they're like, "Oh, you're gay," and like in Japanese, like they did name calling, like, you know, almost like bullying, like, you know, like gay, and just, you know, be told that in Japanese. So like that was my very beginning of identifying who I am and what I like the preferences and things like that. So like it was very difficult growing up in Japan as a young gay male, you know, student of that youth age group. I think it probably a lot of us, like if you're from Asia or like, you know, from Asian household, like those are some things that you probably experience, like in a way where parents and the society have expectations of like how you should act, and as a man or as a boy, like you're supposed to like sports or cars and, you know, Gundam and things like that. And I never liked Gundam and like building little things like that. So I was like, oh, I'm different, but you know, but that was okay, you know, growing up. And then I think, you know, I had a little hardship of getting bullied and, you know, even like physical assault. I had that in school. So some things, because I was gay and not that I was open, but, you know, people knew that I was feminine and different. So like they had different reactions towards me. So that was like the beginning stage. And then I would say in my 20s, you know, I think in many Asian countries, like people are still out in their own workplace or even at home because of the norms and the, you know, expectations that we live through. But for me, in my 20s, you know, I started dating men, and, you know, I was able to meet my husband to actually get married in Honolulu in 2016. So that allowed me to come to the US and, you know, finally live the life I've never imagined to be great, you know. So I'm really thankful for our nation, you know, to the US, and I'm living through that dream, you know, since 2016. So yeah, that's my journey and how I am today. So yeah.
It's very unfortunate that you experienced bullying in Japan, because in Asia, it's predominantly, you know, it's you don't talk about it. You know, it's unaccepted during, you know, like 20 years ago.
Right.
But when you moved here in the US, did you face any discrimination?
I don't think so. I think I was fortunate, like some of the cities that I lived in, like Honolulu, Hawaii, you know, a lot of Asians, right? Like more than half of the populations are Asian, and just holding hands with another man, nobody said anything, even almost 10 years ago then. So not quite. Fortunately, I've never really had any adversity or anything like that living in both cities, like, you know, but perhaps in some other cities where, you know, this, like Vegas is a metropolitan city, so we have a lot of diversity and a lot of Asian, you know, LGBTQ community, and nobody's really bothers us really, you know. So I think in a way, I mean, I've been blessed, but it may be different for folks from, like, you know, some other states, you know, South or the Midwest, or, you know, some other places. So I don't know.
How about you, Matt? Did you receive any negative feelings or towards you in the past?
Not in the not like from the heterosexual. I was also very lucky. Like I think, like I know like there was a lot of like harassment in, like middle school. Like not for me, just like in general to the gay population, because they're like, oh, you know, you're so gay, or you know, using like that for in the gay community against us. And so I would hear a lot of that dialogue. I really lucked out in high school. Because my high school, I went to a charter high school, and then they organized like a LGBTQ event called the Day of Silence. And so it was my first exposure, and then it was really powerful. A lot of my friends and peers who I didn't know, we had like assembly, everyone in the school came. We kind of like made sure like, hey, you know, we're a tolerant place, we're accepting everyone. And some students came out at the event, the assembly, and be like, hey, this is who I am. It was really powerful event for me. I mean, maybe I didn't know at the time, but I was just like, wow, this is so cool. So I felt really safe at my high school. And then again, I also lucked out. I made sure to pick a college that was LGBTQ friendly if I want to explore that realm. So, and then again, I was very privileged that like my school was, and everyone was very accepting. If anything, I think like my foray into the like LGBTQ community overall was interesting because I felt like being gay or being like LGBTQ, a lot of the spaces that I was seeing was like a lot of like white folks. A lot of people who went first like, oh, you're gay. Like I meet like lots of like white people, and so I was just, and they were kind of talking about being gay in the way that I didn't understand as much because I was both Asian and gay, and so there's like certain intersections with that. And I never felt comfortable saying I was gay. It took me a while before I felt like I'm gay, because for me, being gay was associated with being white a little bit, being white and gay. And I didn't feel, and it's because I think it's also about pride, like being like, oh, you need to be visible, we need to be out loud and proud. And the Asian community is still very like, yeah, and you have to think about your family, think about like, it's not about secrecy, but it's about like, you know, thinking overall. So I just wasn't ready to be like, hey, I'm gonna be out and loud and proud. Like that wasn't quite me quite. So I had to wrestle with that.
I could probably agree the same way how Matt just explained about like I've never been. I was out to my workplace that I have a husband, and that I'm gay, but I don't think I've ever openly tried to be, flamboyant and like very not, feminine in a way, so but yeah, I think that's definitely have to do with, being Asian and growing up in the Asian household to really open up myself, like some other folks in our, in our community, like have been very open about themselves and, that sort of thing. So
yeah. Even though there's a tremendous growth in the acceptance of the community, there's still not a secrecy, but there's like a privacy that you keep. Would you say?
It can be. I mean, I think, a lot of sometimes when we get asked about like, I haven't been asked this, but I know like sometimes when you're first like, oh, I'm gay, and then sometimes the question is like, oh, what's your sex life like, and that becomes very offensive. Like, I'm more than just my sex life and stuff like that. It's not about really sex, it's about like who I love and who I'm with and who like I choose to be with. But again, I haven't had those type of questions, and so there's some, I think, sense of respect and privacy in that way, but nothing. But I think it is still important to be visible. I am really proud of the fact that the world America at least has been really accepting from the places I've been, like Nevada, Chicago, Rhode Island, California. Like I have been. It hasn't been a worry. Sometimes in work, though, I do feel like I was a former teacher, and so I know CCSD has very inclusive policies for teachers. Like, we can't get fired for being LGBTQ. It's like in the state constitutions, in the workforce kind of thing. But it still was kind of like, a place where I'm not sure if I could come out. It took me like a year to come out with my coworkers, and I had to be like, hey, is this a good place for my coworkers? And then with students and parents, it still was really hard. Like, we were talking in my group about like, hey, you're a gay teacher. Like, you need to show representation. And I tried to do my best. Like, I tried to think of work and share somewhat LGBTQ books, like read aloud. I never would say like, hey, this is an LGBTQ book. I was just trying to infuse it my own way. But I was just really nervous about like parents coming back and being like, hey, there's a gay teacher and like I want my student out kind of thing. So that made me feel really nervous. But a friend of mine in Boston, he's a gay teacher too. He was like, no, I'm out and proud, and he's also Asian. And I was like, I have much respect for him. But he did come out, and then some parents did take his students out. And he was like, well, that's just one less student for me in some ways. So, but it's more important to have the visibility, and maybe I'm not sure if it's all bravery or not, but it's something I have to like grapple with and think about, like navigate that situation. Yeah.
Still have to navigate, even though it's still generally accepted. Right?
Yeah.
I see. And I see that you're wearing radio flag. So how did the rainbow flag actually became a symbol?
Yeah.
And if Matt, if you can explain what each of the colors mean.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And it's now the progressive
flag. Yeah. So I'm gonna have to refer to my notes. Sorry, y'all, because there's a lot of information.
Yes.
But I do know. So the history of the LGBTQ community started with a pink flag, pink triangle. So that was related to the genocide with Hitler. So we know that he had internment camps for the Jewish population, but he also targeted LGBTQ people. And so if you're an LGBTQ person, you would get a pink triangle on you. And so that would demarcate you as like a LGBT community and to be eliminated. So originally that was like one of the symbols for the organization. But it's kind of like very depressing, very like sad. So in the 70s, an artist created the rainbow flag, and let me just pull it up, because he had like each of the colors represented something, and he wanted to have that express. Okay, that's not very clear. Wait for it. Okay, sorry, I have to refer back to it.
It's alright.
But he had the rainbow flag, and he wanted to embody like different aspects of the LGBTQ community, just make it more happy, make it more pleasant. I think it's like energy, tranquility. Some of the colors mean kind of that. And then that became the symbol for a long time. And then recently, in 2000s, the trans community, so we have like the inner triangle here, came out with their flag. And so the blue and the pink kind of represent like the baby boy, baby girl colors, so on the outside. And the white kind of represents all the folks who are not in the standard, like baby girl, baby boy kind of color. So it's like the more gender fluid, like the transgender community. So that community starts to adopt that flag. And then when we talk about like DI inclusion nowadays, we're talking about like the combined community, like everyone being represented, not just the gay, lesbian people, the trans group, and the black and brown folks as well. So it's trying to talk about the intersection. So then we have the progress flag. So it combines the rainbow flag, combines the trans flag, combines other minority groups, so that we can have everyone celebrated, respected, and seen.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you for that information, explaining the rainbow flag. And recently, you also, well, both of you, together with Bianca from Utopia, Las Vegas, and an organization also, you went to Washington, D.C., and tell us more about your experience when you visited the office of Congressman Susie Lee.
So we visited the House of Congress, and I think there are two offices who had the LGBTQ flag, and she had the older version of LGBTQIA flag. So three of us got together and we spoke about, why not donate a newer version of the LGBTQ flag for better visibility and representation of our community. And, as I came to this country as a legal immigrant myself, through same-sex marriage, I really felt like I owe so much to this country that I'm grateful for, to the United States. And let's when we get back to Vegas from Washington, D.C., let's just meet up and then donate a flag. So Angelica, the staffer from Congressman Suzy Lee's office, she coordinated this meet and greet, and we also invited our community partners in the LGBTQI community and ACDC, and we invited our friends in our community to get together at the Windmill Library, and we donated this flag together, and that was really great, I think.
Yeah, it was really inspiring. We had like really wonderful stories from other API queer community members sharing, I think, and it was just a wonderful way, I think, because I know the API queer community sometimes we're like, again, hidden, invisible.
We're like the niche.
Yeah.
Within the LGBTQ community. The research shows that there's 3% of the total LGBTQ population being API. So, we're niche within the niche, so to say, because we're minority to, being Asian and being LGBTQ. That's like two overlapping things, and
And so it was really wonderful to just kind of give the flag at the beginning of June, where we just finished API Heritage Month, going to Pride Month. So it's like a nice mixture of the two, and just getting our voices, our stories heard. And,
Yeah, indeed. It was truly a wonderful event, and to have all of those groups, such as AJ.
AJ Huth,
from your organization as well, Bianca from United Territories of Pacific Islander Alliance of Las Vegas, which is Utopia, Nahula, Charles Herring from Nahula. We have you held it at the Windmill Library. They're very supportive, and then Silver State Equality was there too. So it was really gathering of your community, and then sharing stories, which I love, and hearing also both your stories, and it was really a wonderful event. So thank you for having that, taking action and having that event. So wonderful. So it was really wonderful. And are there any cultural? Oh, and then is there anything you add with the flag?
Yeah. Okay. So I finally found the passage.
Yes. Okay. Yes.
Okay. So originally the rainbow flag that was made in the 70s had the pink on top too. So the color pink was for sex, red for life, orange for healing, yellow for sunlight, green for nature, turquoise for magic, indigo for serenity, and violet for spirit. So those were the original rainbow colors. And so it got reduced now to just red, orange, yellow, green, purple, green, blue, and purple. So a little fewer colors, but added on the side.
Wow, there's really meaning to everything, but generally it represents unity. Diversity and unity.
Yes.
Okay, that's great.
And happiness, I think. The levity of our community and everything as well.
Thank you. Thank you very much for sharing.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for letting me go back.
Yes. And then, are there any cultural, really appropriate resources for the AA and HBI community?
For any queer resources, feel free to reach out to SNAPIQS. We're really working closely with the LGBTQ Center for any resources. I know the LGBTQ Center itself have worked really diligently to make sure we have communities, healthcare, advocacy, victims advocacy. So any of those things we partner with them very closely with. I know ACDC has a ton of programs for the API community. So if anything specific to those, we refer to you guys for that. I know for us, we have some upcoming, we have a monthly social. It's every Wednesdays. Before it's been at the center. Right now we're currently meeting at Afterlife Tea and Boba Shop. Oh. Yeah, so every first Wednesday of the month at 6 p.m. we meet there just to gather the community to celebrate. We have a couple events throughout the whole month. The next one is called Speed Friending. It's a little fundraiser. It's just limited 12 people, but you're gonna get into a group, you're gonna meet other LGBTQ, IPA folks in the community, and just talk to them for a little bit, switch and find another friend to talk to. So we're gonna be doing that on June, I think 12th. June 10th at 6 p.m. at Afterlife. Yeah.
So visit your website.
Yes. Yeah, it's SNAPIQS on Instagram, or go to the center as well, the Center LV on Instagram.
Okay, and then we'll just put it on the comments on Facebook, and just feel free to visit their website too. And then, you mentioned earlier that which you shared that there are many challenges facing your community, and it's more than the discrimination and the social stigma. So, and there are also, that you face such as the barriers in accessing healthcare. So, what do you think are the other needs that your community need?
So I know from the research, just API in general, like the data is not very strong, but especially in the queer community, LGBTQ data is nationally tracked, so we need to track that information. There's a census mid-year community survey that we're trying to get the LGBTQ population listed on there, so that's one thing we're advocating for. But beyond that, I know like in the HIV research, a lot of like Black and Brown communities are really high in the prevalence of HIV, but the numbers are growing and continue to grow in the API community. A lot of folks in the community are very stigmatized. They don't want to share the HIV. When they do have HIV, they take a very long time to disclose that information, making it really hard to get treatment done appropriately. So just having that visibility, having awareness, getting that data is really important for our legislators to know, so funding could come into the API community so we could help provide HIV testing resources, medication, all that information. That's been really critical.
Yeah, I think we have enough resources within our community, like the center and hundreds. There's enough clinics and outreach organizations that also serve all community, not just API community. So I think Matt would be a great resource from our API community, being in the LGBTIQ profession and working for the center. But I think it's just the cultural, the coming out. The difficulty for coming out, and then sharing that journey. If you're experiencing health issues or addiction or anything like that, I think within our Asian community, like I think our young folks, whether young or older, have different difficulty for coming out and then navigating their journey of their LGBTQ to lifestyle, I would say.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And I think also to like Seiya's story too, I know one thing I'm also just always thinking about is Vegas being like a really heavy immigrant hub and people coming to America for more inclusive policy for any reasons. And so I do think about like our API brethren across the seas and like their needs and everything like that, and how like we can be supportive in some ways. Like I think that's a huge like community that like doesn't have access to LGBTQ resources. I know a friend of mine who's going back to Thailand, and Thailand is just one of the first country in the Southeast Asia who accepted same-sex marriage, which is amazing. But I know like just people not knowing the resources of HIV, especially PrEP or anything like that, not being aware, not getting connected, still again hiding and being is the hiding that's unsafe, where like you hide but you don't share information, so you don't get the help and resources that you need. That part, like we need to help our siblings across the seas and stuff.
So access to resources.
Yeah.
Also from the Buddhist Churches of America, I'm part of the Las Vegas Buddhist Sangha. It's a Japanese American Buddhist religious organization. So surprisingly, the Buddhist BCA, we call it BCA for Buddhist Church of America, they have been having same-sex marriage, like wedding, since 40 years ago.
Wow.
So there is like a research done, and our community is very open to, to the LGBTQIA community since long ago, believing in our diversity and acceptance and not judging for who they are is truly the virtue of being a Buddhist, so to say. So our organization is located here in town. So, there's a lot of Asian countries that are Buddhist, So if you're a Buddhist and if you want to check us out, we have events coming up, and it's a group of, community that accepts you for who you are. So I'm really thankful for my community to, to find another venue to, for social connections and acceptance. So we have that also.
Well, definitely we'll add them to our list of resources and also drop it in our comment section.
Yeah. You guys have a Oban festival?
We have Obon Festival, that's August 24th. So yeah, we have a few months away, but we're excited to celebrate Obon Festival.
Oban Festival on August 20th.
August 24th, yeah.
All right. Okay, so regardless of sexual orientation or gender identity, how can one be an ally to the LGBTQIA+ community?
I think if you know someone specifically struggling to come out, or I think it depends, but more just simple listening to them and just being welcome, give them encouraging words or kind words to welcome them, and so that they feel safe within that friendship. If you have a friend that's struggling, and then those of us who are still struggling, there's enough people who, if you want to talk to people, there's many organizations and groups. But I think it's very important to find your own community to go to, and then speak about your what your struggling is, what you're enjoying, and then share the success and all of that. So instead of just staying in your own bubble, I highly encourage for those young people and even adults who are still struggling to really try to find your own community, so you can really be really who you are. So instead of staying that's just one area, I think there's definitely benefits of social connections. There's definitely resource out there for like health and all of that, but I think social connection also helped me to live a comfortable life, and I'm happier. So if that's something that you're looking for, we have that in our city. So
yeah, I think connections, like what Seiya is saying, is really important. Like a base for an ally, because I know like the trauma, what we're afraid of as gay people when we come out is the loss of relationship, right? It's the disconnection from family, from our friends, and from not accepting who we are. So like a base, like an open-mindedness of not losing that connection, of just hearing us out, not saying like we're completely changed, like this is just not a part of who we are, just being like that. That's a base. And if you want to become a more proactive member and an ally, of course, it's fighting for our LGBTQ rights, making sure LGBTQ discrimination, especially in the transgender community right now, who's facing a lot of pushback all over the country, all over the state right now for bathroom bans, not getting access to prior care. Like, we need our allies on the forefront of trans rights right now, because in our community, they're the most targeted population. So we have to be there for our, again, siblings for those things. And other things of like supporting LGBTQ owned businesses or organizations, I think that's really important. I know like a lot of corporate America has like sponsored a lot of pride things, which is great. I really appreciate the visibility, but I think down the roots, find your local LGBTQ community and actually support them. The bars, the shops, the tea boba shops, bookstores.
Yeah, there's a lot of businesses and events hosted by those businesses. So I think we have LGBTQ business owners and nonprofits. They're having events, especially throughout the month of June. I think there's so much opportunities to go out and see. So I think we still have like a week left. So,
and we're lucky too, because in Vegas, our Pride for Vegas also in October. So our parade and stuff like that is during the LGBT History Month. So we still have some more time in the future to help support all those as well.
Come walk with us.
Yeah.
On a parade. So that gives us 4 months to. I think it'd be great if you can do it together.
Yeah, and then we'll let our viewers know about the upcoming October events. So I'll walk with you during that event. Yay! And
That's
then
exciting.
before I close this episode, so how can one parent who has a child who is struggling with their identity and a parent who is their first time, who's navigating in this unfamiliar journey, how can they support their child on this?
Oh, that's a hard one. You want to go first?
So I know a specific program at the center who helps deal with this issue. Particularly, it's called Pivot. It's amazing. It's parents and children get together to bridge that difference, to get them to communicate with one another, so that there's no separation. Because again, a child who loses their parents and family is in danger of like substance use abuse, sex issue, like lots of hosts of things that are surmountable. So we want to keep families together. So it's about communication. It's about having that dialogue. Parents talk to other parents. It'd be great if API parents could talk to other API parents who have LGBTQ kids so they can understand. I know my family, my dad has to rationalize it in some ways. He was just like, well, if I don't accept you and I force you to like marry a woman or something like that, you're gonna be unhappy, and that's gonna cause more drama, more issues later in life. For my mom, I think it was just like going back to the root of her love for me, because I told her once, I was like, when I came out to them, I was like, Mom, do you love me anymore? And then she had to be like, no, I still love you. I just have to understand this other piece. And we also went to family therapy, but again, it's that communication to help like bridge those things, to understand like a little deeper, because it is again, in the Asian community, it's
a process. Yeah. For me, I first introduced my husband when I was 29, right before we got married. So, she started crying. So she didn't know what to expect, because I never came out before that. So that was a way for me to come out and really introduce my significant other, because I didn't want to introduce anybody. So that's kind of like how it started for me. But I think for a lot of Asian families, if you have the traditional view of marriage and, they grew up in that type of, generation, I would say. I think younger generations are a little more open, like even within the API community. So, take the time to talk about it. I think, like Matthew said, communication is important. But if you need the help, I was surprised to hear about this program from the center. Get involved. Maybe even if you don't want to, seek professional help, maybe like a friend, like a mutual friend or your auntie or somebody who understands you the most. Get them involved to navigate that coming out journey. I think it's you don't have to do it yourself. Just by yourself, because it could be stressful. And hard to navigate. So So yeah.
And at the base, just please don't like give up on your child. Because I think again, Asian communities are so family oriented, and so our biggest fear is losing our families. And so when someone's coming out, the biggest fear is losing you and your connection with your child. So I mean, I understand the traditional views and everything, but just if you could just take a moment to pause before making any like
radical decisions,
that I would at least urge that. Yeah.
So we go back to that connection and that family, which is your core.
Yes. And if I could tell my younger self, I always thought about giving up for life, because of the hardship I had. And I'll just say, like, never give up. And there's better days coming, especially in our country. You can really be who you are, and there's enough resources and communities you can find. So please don't give up, and come talk to us if you need to, and you find your friend, who will listen to you and accept you for who you are. So I think it's really important that we have that open to our young people and anybody who's struggling. So
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Matt and Seiya. It has been a wonderful discussion with you all, sharing your story. So thank you again. Maraming salamat po sa ating mga viewers and listeners. Thank you po for listening and watching FIL-AM in Focus, a program by the Asian Community Development Council. Ako po ang inyong host, Weiss Solano. Abangan po ang aming susunod na episode. Hanggat sa muli.